Hey, so it is June 10th, and I just finished reading Nothing is True and Everything is Possible by Peter Pomerantsev. And it is currently storming outside, so you might pick up on that. You might not, I don't know. Um, so this book is a work of journalism, and I'm starting to think that I just don't like journalistic works because the last journalistic work that I read was Blackwater, and for as exciting as a topic of as that was, uh, I didn't like that one all that much. And this one also has some exciting topics in it, but I still didn't like it that much. It was just kind of boring to me. Um, so it might just be journalism that I don't like. So this book is about Russia, and it is about corruption in Russia, and it is about well, it is really about Russia trying to find itself. So he talks about his job at a media company and how he makes documentaries and he tries to push for realism, whereas the company itself is pushing for entertainment and positive and uplifting. And because there's not a whole lot of positive and uplifting stories taking place in reality, they have to fictionalize things or look very hard or just present things in a certain way that isn't very realistic. Um, so he talks about the women in Russia and how young women are R-worded, and this is seen as normal. And then these women, these young women, they become essentially prostitutes. They are trying sugar babies, really sugar babies. They are trying to date for money, and they are trying to date the wealthiest possible man and get his money so that they can secure themselves a future. Um, he talks about how he also talks about drug companies and how the drug laws are constantly changing, and the drug enforcement agencies are actually battling each other. There are some that are run by KGB operatives, and there are some that are run by neo Rus Rusk. I'm not sure what the word would be. Neo Russians, people who support the old regime versus people who support the new regime, and there's a lot of conflict there. And he talks about how these agencies conflict with each other, and so he also talks about cults, how there's been an upwelling of cults in Russia. Now, this was published in 2009, so this isn't exactly the newest thing. What I noticed is that almost everything he described in the book can also be applied to the United States. Almost everything. I mean, it's not exactly normal for a woman to be R-worded in the United States. That's actually it's actually considerably rare. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen often, but it's not as common as he's making it out to be in Russia. Um, but the drug laws constantly changing. That is something that happens in the U.S. The conflict between different government agencies and different government officials who support different regimes, that is something that happens in the United States. The media looking for entertainment value as opposed to realism, that is something that happens in the United States. He talks about corruption in the money sector. people using offshore accounts and just funneling money out of the country. That is something that happens in the United States. Now, I don't know if Peter is. Well, I know that Peter is not native to Russia. He actually says he lived in Russia for 9 years. But it's made apparent that he doesn't live there. But I don't know where he's from, whether he's from Britain or the U.S. or some other country. His wife is from Moscow, and his daughter is young. But he lived in Russia for 9 years. So this was published in 2009. That means he was living there from the year 2000 until 2009, and probably after that as well. But you can only talk about what's been published. But he makes it seem as though all this stuff that's happening in Russia is unique to Russia and is terrible. And it is terrible, but it's not unique to Russia. It is far from unique to Russia. It is happening in the UK. It is happening in the US. I wouldn't be surprised if it is happening in most of the world, most of the developed world. But yeah, there's a lot of cult behavior in his own outlook as well, but he doesn't seem to notice his own cultish behavior. But he does talk about cults and how the cults arose in Russia, and how a lot of them were influenced by the West. One of them, called the Rose of the World, was responsible for the deaths of a couple of supermodels from Russia. And, well, he was investigating that, and he found that they were using techniques and tactics from a US-based cult called LifeSpring, which I don't know too much about, but it sounds like one of those New Age cults that rose up in the 80s. And and there's other cults. There's a cult that is led by a guy who claims to be the second coming of Christ. And every so often he predicts the end of the world, and when it doesn't come, he's like, oh, all my followers, their prayers worked, so we are free from the end of the world for another however long. Typical cult stuff. But yeah, the way that Pomerantsev addresses Russia is very cultish. But he does bring a good point to the fore, and that is that after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russians were desperate for an identity, and they didn't know what to make of themselves. He brings up the architecture. The architecture is constantly changing because people are constantly trying to redefine what Russian architecture is. Because, again, they are looking for an identity. And, well, this sort of thing is also happening in the U.S. The U.S., well, part of the reason why there's been a surge in the alt-right is because of this loss of identity. I believe it was Curtis Yarvin said that one of the reasons why the alt-right has grown so rapidly is because conservatives realized that they were frauds. The conservative identity was disintegrated, and so conservatives went looking for real conservatism, and that's how the alt-right grew so rapidly. But anyway, this was an okay book. It's going on my shelf, but I don't really like it that much. Thank you for watching. Peace.